Good afternoon, it's Lee Cassidy from Tactile Technology, and we've got one of our In the Hot Seat sessions. So today we've got Stuart joining us, who's going to tell us all about Emotive Eye and what he does and his background on the photography, videography side of things, and how he helps organisations brand their businesses going forward. So let's get Stuart on, shall we? How you doing, Stuart?
Very well, mate. Very well. Good afternoon.
Yeah, we're a bit rushed with this because normally we have about 10 or 15 minutes talking about what we're going to do and then we kick off. But no one knows, but we've been talking about each other and our business up to about 20 seconds before we kicked off. So it's a little bit quicker than we would normally do when we kick it off. But first of all, it'd be good to know a little bit about your background. You know, we spoke earlier about it, but if you can tell everybody a little bit about where you're from, a little bit about, what you did schooling wise and things, just give people a bit of a foundation about you.
Yeah, no, absolutely, mate. Absolutely. So, exactly as I explained, my whole background in photography and the whole reason I do it is because of my old man. I worked with him for many, many years and mainly in wedding photography. Bit of corporate work, but mainly weddings. And we built a really successful business together. It was almost bringing his traditional old-fashioned way of shooting, then with my candid style added in. And we were offering a product that no one else was offering out there. And so we grew a bloody good business. So good that even though I said I would never go into photography, I ended up basically setting up in direct competition with him in 2004. So we launched our businesses at the same time, actually, mate. And then went from there and never looked back. School-wise.
So let's talk about that. So
Yeah.
Traditional was get everybody lined up, mum and dad, bride and groom, something in the background of the church, some trees, stuff like that, and that was all set, wasn't it? Then get rid of them and bring in the bridesmaids, get rid of them and bring someone else in. But what you were doing is more this candid, what's happening, live type footage piece that we tend to see more these days.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I was adding it in bits. It was almost like a 20% add-on to what we were doing with the traditional posed correct photography, if that makes sense. And it was actually then 2 years after launching my business, I pivoted completely to switch it so that 90% of what I shoot is documentary and only 10% is posed. I spun that in 2006, and essentially I still shoot exactly the same now all these years later. Because
what response do you get then from the from the wedding guests and the actual bride and groom in that approach?
They absolutely love it because they're not posing. I say the worst thing that could happen on a wedding day is it feels like a photo shoot. It should feel like a wedding, and I just happen to be capturing a few photos. I see so many different approaches to it, but I work with small cameras. I work really quiet. I dress like a guest, so I look smart. Basically, I'm wearing a three-piece suit normally, sort of thing. I look like I belong at the wedding rather than some of the scruffs that I see out there. And it's all about appearance. And it's just knowing that you want to look the part. You want to be where you should be. And then when it comes to running the day, it's keep it really chilled. Apart from when you need to move people, because people are inherently stupid and they don't move where you need them to. So you've got to control them. But there's a way of doing it. Communicating with people is something I learned as an early age, 11, 12 years old, trying to organize people gave me a bloody good foundation. And now I find I can tend to get most people to do what I need them to do quite quickly and have a bit of fun doing it. And I always find, even when it comes to the boring part of the day, doing the group shots, if I'm having that bit of a bounce, bit of interaction, normally a bit of mild abuse with one person or someone else, or complimenting mum on her outfit, then by the time it comes to actually almost saying smile, they're already laughing with me, they're already with me, there's already energy in the room. And that's gives me the photos that I need, really.
You start
the same with any people.
Yeah, so first wedding shoot was 14, wasn't it? Age 14.
Was, mate? Yeah.
Helping around a few years with Dad. When did you start moving away from weddings into doing more corporate work then with Emotive Eye?
Yeah, so Emotive Eye didn't exist for a long time. So my work was corporate, wedding, with probably 20% corporate. Started growing from 2008 onwards. So it was when we switched to digital, I started picking up more clients. And then it was a real conscious effort about 6 years ago to grow the corporate side of the business. Many reasons about it. Part of it was I love the corporate side, and I love that different mix that I could go from an event to photographing trucks to a brand shoot to adding things in. And then, 6 years ago, really put the effort in and grew Emotive Eye to the point that it's now 75%, 80% of my business. I still do weddings, but for me, corporate's where it's at. For one thing, I don't like working weekends anymore, mate. I've done it for too long. I want to have a life instead.
Yeah, that's the challenge, isn't it? Having a life and something like filming weddings and things. So it'd be good to have a look at some of your your bits later, some of your still images, some videos. We'll look into that. So let's get a bit of an idea of your approach then. So you go and see a company, say it's a technology company, and they're looking to do a rebrand and launch their new brand. So what kind of things are you going to do with them before you start? And then what kind of things would you then progress to if you're going to go through that branding exercise?
Yeah, totally. Well, I mean, my side of the branding exercise doesn't cover the graphic sort of side, and there's often that we bring in the experts for that. Normally, they're talking to me at the point that they're on that journey, so they've worked with the brand house, they're working with an agency to develop the website and their digital presence, and I'm almost coming in to have that human element, that connection, that conversion to what they're doing.
Yeah.
Sometimes if I come into a company and they haven't got that, it's like, right, okay, where do we start? Where are we going? And trying to understand their challenges most of the time and how we can essentially solve those challenges. And then it's understanding who we're talking to. That is the biggest thing. And a lot of companies seem to think it's about talking about themselves. Nobody cares about you. Nobody cares what you do, really. They care about what you can do for them and the transformation you can give to them. So a lot of the time it's education and trying to tell them why we need to produce something in a certain way and tell something in a certain way. But sometimes it can be education for me, understanding their market and understanding their communication, their stakeholders, and also who their ideal target market is. And then making sure that everything we craft and create, is geared to that perfectly, because you can't have a moment's hesitation in the buyer journey. It needs to be cemented all the way through, real quality, real connection, real expertise, so that then you've almost directed them along that journey the same as you would in an in-person conversation. And if you can do that through quality images, then it does it.
Yeah, any examples you can give of clients recently and the kind of thing you've done for them around that branding side of things?
Yes, I mean, there was one that done. It was actually a car company, and it was working for their recruitment side of things. And because they're having real challenges, the garages, and they can't get women into the workforce. It's almost real stigma sort of positions, but it's not like that in reality, and they don't want it to be like that. They want to be massively inclusive. So we went down to 2 of their different garages, 3 of their garages across the country to show the diversity, show the different people in role. Admittedly, then when I did find a woman working in the workshops, then we were getting loads of shots of her just so we could build this catalogue of images. And there they've got a whole set of still images that can be used for their recruitment posts, for building their whole brand connection and brand awareness. And it's just showing who they are as a company, and trying to build that real ownership in a way to show who they are.
What about brand awareness type of thing then? So if you're going to get that out there, what kind of things would you normally do? Is there a different approach to it rather than what you were talking about, looking at diversity within an organization?
Yeah, totally. It's all about it's understanding all the key touch points that they have and where a client could experience them, and making sure that we show that. So say you've got a client that's coming in and they're building a brand new website, and it's all the different elements, all the different pages, the different sections, and then all the spin-off advertising marketing points that you could have with that, the online, the offline presence, and all the different ways that someone could touch that brand. We'll then work out how we can capture the right images, and quite often video as well, then to fill those voids, and just give them that real ownership, that it is their people in their positions doing what the clients expect them to do. And quite often showing behind the scenes as well. You know, a logistics company, you're used to seeing the trucks on the road, and photographing trucks, as you know, I'm a bit of a nerd about, so we can cover that later. But when it comes to exactly when it comes to showing the people, it's the people that matter, because a business is nothing without its people. And clients often want to see who's involved, you know, who's going to be on the phone to them when they call up customer services, who's going to be doing the delivery, who's the guys who are in the factory, you know, in the warehouse picking or in the factory making things. If you can give this ownership to it and then add into that then the standard product stuff, before you know it, you've got a real connection. Real interesting one that I was with a client last week. I've been working with them for years. They're a blinds and window coverings manufacturer. And quite often their catalogs are just standard catalogs from the suppliers, because, of course, there's thousands of options and everything else.
Yeah.
But they said the difference with having the opening shots being the team, they're building their factory in operation for some of the things that they do make, meant that everyone sort of took it that it was just all theirs. It wasn't just something off the shelf. It was, they looked like a real company, if that makes sense, like they were doing the job properly. And the sales guy said the difference with putting that in front of people rather than just a bog standard brochure was just, absolutely priceless. Then you back that up. It's also on the website and everything as well. It's on their social media. So, you know, even a standard post about like Christmas or whatever else, if you put a team shot on there, people are going to interact with it a little bit more. And it just works. It's just knowing that you've got to get the best out of people in a pressure situation to then put them forward and let them connect to their clients.
So have you got any examples we could show people of maybe videos or still imagery and things? I think I remember seeing that truck one where you talked about different lighting and that you'd used, and then bringing those together. I'm not sure if you've got that available.
Yeah, I think I've got the logistics one here. Let's start with that, because this is real geeking out time that we can hit this one with. So hopefully that's coming through. Sorry, is that the connection one? Bear with me a second. Which one have we got playing there, mate? We got the truck one. Right, let's just head to that over here. Gotta love technology when it works, mate, eh?
Yeah, definitely. So that's quite an interesting shot you've got there, because the one in the center really stands out, doesn't it, from the rest?
It does. So let's show the process of how we built that. So little tongue-in-cheek there. There's nothing to it, but this is me just on a logistics shoot showing simple time lapse of all the time built into getting the trucks in the right position, and then the work that's involved behind to actually show it. So we're lighting the trucks up, we're merging different exposures and different images, and then going through and cleaning things up to make things pop. You can basically get a nice even image quite simply, but to try and really make the images pop and really show, that's what we're trying to do here with the lighting. And it's just understanding that you can take things to the next level. A lot of people aren't going to be interested in trucks, so you've got to make something that's eye-catching to really stand out and connect with people. And I'm a bit of a nerd when it comes to this stuff, and I love doing it. And it's understanding the detail and the extra effort that we can make, and it really makes an image pop out. So there's a lot to it. And that's a guy. If anyone knows Neil Vasey, send him my way. But it's just understanding the different sort of points of what we can do to really show that extra touch, that extra element to it, and do exactly the same when it comes to people as well. You've got to bring lighting into a situation to make it look right. I think that's why people say are iPhones replacing the job of photographers, and it's not at all, because one, you've got to get that human connection to the lens, but the other big side of it is you've got to get the lighting right and the technical side, and that's not even going into video, talking about sound and everything else, which is a totally different sort of conversation.
World again, isn't it?
It's
what have you any shots that you talked about? Diversity within the the car mechanics and things, because that's again different. And maybe you talked about logistics as well, didn't you? If you've got any examples there, that might be good, because I think your world is very visual, isn't it? We've got to see it. It's not something you can talk about photography. I got the lighting right here and I did this. You'll actually see it, haven't you? To see like that.
You really
just seeing the trucks. You can't really think about it unless you see the work that's gone into it and understand how it was done.
Yeah, no, totally. And that's the point. So, I mean, I think you've got the screen share up there now, mate. So this was...
It's not appeared my end yet, so... You need to click on present at the bottom, then pick your screen.
I did that, mate, but we'll go again.
Yeah, it's just not popping up my end.
There you go, mate.
There's still nothing appearing here. So have you hit share?
Yes, mate.
I'm not seeing anything this end at the moment, because it normally pop at the bottom of my screen and then I add it in at that point. I think you're doing it differently now, or you've disappeared. Oh, I've lost you. Well, hopefully we'll get Stuart back in a second. But if anybody's got any questions for Stuart, pop them in the chat, and we'll ask him any questions he's got. But we seem to have lost him for a second, so hopefully he'll be back with us any second, and then we'll continue on. But seeing some of the stuff that Stuart does, it is quite impressive, where he's getting that connection to the people that he's filming, but also the lighting of some of the equipment, like especially the trucks. I know he's got a passion for it, and other vehicles. But the way that he brings those together is quite amazing. Right, you're back with us again. Do you want to do a try share?
Seems the whole internet decided to die there, mate. So gotta love technology. I'm blaming Sky for that one.
Yeah, here we go. It's coming up on the screen now. So there we go.
Excellent. So yeah, this was an example of the shoot that we did, showing behind the scenes for the guys at Renault, and it was just trying to bring in this connection. I mean, this guy loved being in front of the camera, not other people did, and it was knowing how we could bring out that we got like a couple of minutes with people and bring out that best connection, show behind the scenes of what they're doing, and it was trying to make sure that it was relatable, but there's so much little things in there as well with detail. It's ensuring that we get all the different uniforms correct, making sure everyone's in the right safety gear if we're on a logistics shoot. There's so many little touch points and little important things that are part of it. This is the blinds guys showing what we were doing there, and it's just, there's a lot to each and every shoot, and it's understanding the power of getting that exactly right, and that's what we do for clients. It's understanding where their marketing mix needs to be, and bringing that real connection forward to sort of show that. Plus having a lot of fun, mate. That's one of the other big things about
I think in life, everything's got to be fun, even work. If you can make work fun,
especially work, mate. We spend too long at work, so exactly.
It feels better. So what's different about your approach to, say, other photographers, doing, especially in this space of corporate photography? How would you say your approach is different then? I think you've got another share.
Yeah, I've got that ready to go that we can talk over in a minute, mate. I think my big thing, it's understanding the real connection that we bring to a client, and understanding the overall story. It's using 20 odd years of experience of bringing out the best in people, but also knowing how we can tackle any challenges that do arise. Quite often when you're on a live event, things like this, things go wrong, audio drops out, lighting drops out, someone's in the wrong place, the slides have been queued up incorrectly or whatever else. And there's so many little things that you've got to make sure that you understand what's happening, and then understand how you can bring it together. I mean, this here is an event that we shot for Puge, who are a cosmetics and perfume brand, and it was capturing a live event. We filmed it during the 2 days and then presented it on the end of day 2, to really show what the excitement of the event was around. I didn't sleep at all that night, as you'd probably expect with bringing something like this together, because of course it's turnaround time, but it was that real wow factor that we gave to the client, and had a lot of fun doing it, and it gave them something that they could share about, they could get excited about, and their people just absolutely loved. And for me, that's sort of what it's about. It's capturing the wow, it's capturing the story, it's capturing all the key elements. I know it's going to be important.
Yeah, it's the passion is really important. It's an emotive thing, like the the name Emotive Eye. You try
anyone to think there was something to the name, mate.
Yeah. So they want to feel a part of it. So I think it's really important then. So who's your perfect client then? Who are you looking to work with? What type of organisation? What size organisations? What kind of things are you looking to do for them?
It can be a real mix, because I'm a lean, flexible unit as a company sort of thing. I've got freelancers that work with me whenever I need them to for larger productions. But quite often it's little old me with a few cameras, a few microphones, a few lights, and away we go. So it can literally anything.
Yeah, I
A
think we're
single
having a
person
few
that they're a
issues.
service-based business and the service is them. Hopefully it'll pick back up, mate. So it can be a single person and it's showing their connection, their expertise, putting them forward, putting their personality forward when it comes to personal branding photography a lot of the time. Or it can be like we've got there, a couple of huge billion-pound companies, and it's understanding that they still need to find that human element to what they're presenting. And that's what we can do. As far as who we can work with, the biggest thing is saying whose problems we can solve, because that's essentially what it's all about. It's solving those problems. And quite often it's marketing directors who need to produce this stuff to connect all the different elements of their company forward and their brand proposition forward. Or indeed, those high-level execs who see the problem that they've got loads of different things going out there, but there's no connectivity, there's no brand connection, there's no story, there's almost no purpose to a lot of the different things they're putting out there. And we can come in and work with their brand team.
Use that term purpose. I think most businesses need to understand why they're there. What is our purpose? What do we do for people? But also to make sure that they tell their customers what their purpose is. Because just because they buy something from you, it doesn't mean they understand you as an organization and what they can do for you. So I think it's really important, that side of things.
And also, if you understand purpose, you can be incredibly focused on what you put out there and make sure you're not wasting anyone's time, because as soon as you waste anyone's time, you lose all credibility. So instead, you've got to do the opposite and make sure you always connect with them and give them value at any point. If you're going to produce a podcast, make sure it's valuable content. If you're going to put a video out there, make sure it's as short and tight as possible and delivers the key message. If you're going to put out a webinar for your internal teams, make sure again it's really concise and gives them clear takeaways that they can action straight away. It's people's attention span is worse than ever, so we've got to be so laser focused on what we produce, and that's kind of what we do when it's working with our clients to understand the marketing message and work with them to build that whole marketing plan, really, so that they get that real return on investment right from the start.
Yeah, it's interesting you use that term action, and that's what it's all about, isn't it? Marketing. You're trying to get them to do something at the end, whether that's internal marketing, getting different teams to get involved in what's happening in the business, or even communicating what's happening with their business and getting that energy and that action, but also going out to a market and explaining to people what you do and how you go about it, and trying to drive them towards an action, find out more, get involved, become a customer, take this service. It's all about the action that makes the difference, because if it's just a load of a bump that never really does anything, what's the point?
Totally. And that's it. And if you can understand what your message is, who it's for, and how they're going to consume it, especially, you've got to make sure it's platform specific, then you're almost onto a winner. It's none of it is rocket science. Nothing about marketing is rocket science at all. Rocket science isn't all that much anyway. You just light a gas and away it goes. But it's knowing that if you get it right, you get the finer details correct, and you laser focused on it, and then stick to a plan and don't let people deviate and let a million different minds come in and sway it in different directions. Your ship's going to move forward in the right direction.
So what would we talked about some of the things that people can do to brand, to cover diversity, promote product, service, things like that. But what can you tell us some key areas where people make mistakes when they're doing anything that's either still image or videography that's from a corporate perspective? So when they're trying to do corporate branding, product awareness, things like that, what big mistakes do people make?
I think one of the biggest ones that you see quite often is they're trying to spread that budget way too thin. You're better off being super focused on it, especially with a smaller company. There's nothing wrong with iPhone photography as an add-on, but a smaller guy in marketing who's got a camera who can capture a few different things when you've got an expo or something. But your key message stuff needs to be done correctly. So I quite often work with clients and we'll talk about their whole brand, their marketing plan, and know that I can come in at XYZ points, but know that Jane can do the other bits because it's going to be good enough. You're better off doing that than spending less money on a professional who doesn't necessarily understand what they're doing, and the price seems more attractive up front, but you don't get the service afterwards. And it's
usually
you
things
spread.
are cheap for a reason.
Of course they are, mate. Of course they are. So that's one. The other clear one is, yeah, it's this whole challenge that I've seen with a couple of big corporates, that they've got some amazing content out there, but there's no connectivity. There's no connection across. And when you're trying to communicate that you're one brand house and you're one message and you're one solution, if suddenly then one part of the business is doing this, another part of the business is doing that, another part's doing this, you're almost in competition with each other, and it's kind of a silly thing to do, where you just need someone to come in and take control. And even if it's just as like a director of photography sort of thing across a project, then you can ensure you get that brand connectivity right the way through, make sure you got the same message right the way through, and it just tightens things up. It makes you look better overall. It's as easy as that.
So who would be somebody you've never worked for before? Who would be like your perfect client that you would really love to work for because of the product, the company, whatever, and why would they be your perfect customer?
Well, I mean, there's two ways of looking at it. It's perfect customer that I could be perfect for them, or perfect because it would just make me really happy. So it's, for me, my biggest passion is motorsport, and working with a motorsport company would be absolutely fantastic because I could bring my real passion and story into that. And I had ideas of all sorts of different projects I wanted to do to show behind the scenes a lot more and show the people behind the scenes. And I was thinking about doing this probably 10, 15 years ago, before the likes of Netflix came out and filmed a documentary and everything else. But it's trying to show it's the people that move the machine forward. The glory on a Sunday afternoon is 2 hours of fun for people, sort of thing. But it's all thousands upon thousands of man hours up until that point that makes it what it is. So for me, that would be a great passion and storytelling project. But as far as for brands where I can really make a difference, if they're normally in events or logistics, I can come in and add something special, because there's so many different touch points with a logistics company. So Blakemore's one of my biggest clients, and Spa, I've been working with them for many, many years and understand what they need to do in their marketplace to communicate and connect. So because I've had the experience of basically being within that company for so long, it's not like I'm just the photographer. I've almost been there with them through their growth journey. I know I can bring that same expertise to a growing logistics company that wants to connect and really put a plan together for the next 5 years of where they want to be and what they want to do.
Saying that then, so Marianne Aitken, if you watch this, who's at One Stop Shop, might be a good one to do and introduce James into One Stop, because I know you're growing dramatically at the moment, so might be a good thing to get Emotive and Stuart involved to help with the branding of One Stop Shops. So we'll see.
And they're only just down the road from our office as well, mate. They're main distribution centre, so that wouldn't be a problem.
That's where Marianne works
for a coffee
as well. So I know Marianne.
There we go, mate.
I shall have to introduce you to Marianne later. But again, there are lots of logistical companies out there. We've worked with a lot of them. Daft Trucks, we've worked with a number of people at Daft Trucks over the years. We've done quite a bit of work with some of the local courier companies. Some of the bigger ones as well. So it might be interesting to try and get you into some of them. DHL we've done work with in the past as well. So we'll see what we can do to get you into a number of brands and things. So that'll be good.
Good man.
So what else would you say that that you'd want people to know about you and Emotive before we shut things down and get to the end of our chat today?
Yeah, no, absolutely. The biggest thing is to say that I'm not just a guy with a camera. Pointing the camera is the easy part. It's doing it with purpose and direction that counts. I know where I'm good and I can add value to a company, and the services that I can capture and provide. Anything from personal brand and business brand, ready for that website update and that social media connection, through to the video that really compels viewers to make an action and make that sale, make that connection to a company. or working with them long term on like a podcast project, that's all about brand awareness and building that story. We can help them from idea conception right the way through to final delivery and marketing, and then we've got a wide team of people that work with to take that to the next level and push it even bigger and even harder. So yeah, it's knowing where you can add value, and I will always talk to a client and give them completely honest feedback as to whether I'm the right photographer for them and whether I can add value, or sometimes it's possibly, but you're not there yet. So here's what I suggest you go and do. You can do this bit yourself. Come back in 6 months' time. And I'll always do that with a client, and guide them through. I will never take anyone's money just for the sake of it. I would rather build a relationship, build trust, and give them value advice as well as value with the imagery.
I think respect and integrity are higher than anything. It doesn't matter what skills and anything else, as long as you've got respect and for yourself and for the client, and you've got integrity in what you do. I think that's going to be valued above all else. So I always ask two questions to anybody who does this video live stream with me, and which is, one is, what's the most adventurous thing you've ever done? And a venture can be anything. It doesn't mean it's climbing mountains or anything, or swimming shark. It could be starting a business for the first time, or doing something that's outside your comfort zone. So let's have what that is, and then afterwards, what's the best meal you've ever had? Where was it? What was it? And why was it the best meal you've ever had? And it's usually not to do with the food. It's usually to do with the people or the thing that you're celebrating when you have it. Because again, like we're talking about, connections with video and still imageries and weddings and that relationship, food is something that we relate to, isn't it? And it sticks as a point in time when something's happened, because we tend to have food around celebration and things. So those are two key things I'd like to know about from you.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, for me, it sounds quite flippant, but starting a business was almost an easy thing because I just followed my old man into it. So that continuing a business, that's been a challenge. But the biggest challenge that I've taken on is actually climbing a mountain. So I love mountains. That's my happy place. It's where I'm most at peace, basically. I do a lot of fundraising for a charity called Free at Last in Birmingham, in Nechells, and I was fortunate to join the team that climbed Kilimanjaro in 2019. We successfully summited that day. The whole team got up there, and then this year I was in Chile, attempting to climb Ocos del Salado, which is the highest active volcano in the world. It's the one that Top Gear tried to drive up to and couldn't get up there. And talking about not getting up there, we didn't quite manage it either. And possibly the hardest thing to overcome was mentally that disappointment of going all that way, going all that far, and just not being able to get that last 600 meters to the summit was devastating. But we couldn't do it totally. But it was all about the safety of the team. That's why we turned back and did the right thing. But we raised a colossal amount of money this year for the charity, and that was the Kickstarter to it, to get us through, complete with our stupidity of the year of pain, which I've literally put my body and mind on the line ever since we got back.
You've done the 3 peaks this year. You've done all sorts, haven't you?
Yeah, 3 peaks, ran a marathon for the first time, complete with a knackered hamstring and everything else. So yeah, I said to John earlier, I'll do anything for the kids, and unfortunately he knows it because he keeps asking me. But it's it's just good to give back. And then best meal. Well, I'm a bit of a foodie. I do love my food. It's a real challenge actually, because there's so many different memories associated with different meals.
There must be a highlight.
There's probably many. There's probably many from different points in my life, I would say. But a very recent one was actually a tiny, tiny little place in Slovenia. Just gone over, and we'd had a few ropey meals on the way through that journey, and got to this fabulous little place, tiny, tiny little cafe, and we just sat down and said to the waiter, bring us whatever, food, drink, we trust you. And had possibly the best experience ever, because it was just completely being guided by them right the way through from start to end, and left very, very happy and mildly hungover the next morning. So all in all, it was pretty perfect, mate.
So that sounds good. Well, thanks ever so much for joining us today. Yeah, but if anybody's interested in Stuart James, I didn't get a chance to get the banners because we were rushing up to. But what I'll do is I'll post on through LinkedIn all the details about Emotify and Stuart's contact details onto the LinkedIn post that will come with this and the recording. We'll do the same on the YouTube channel as well and put it in there so everybody can get to Stuart. But it's Emotify, it's Stuart James. Stuart James photography is more around the wedding side of things. Emotify is the corporate side of things. So if you need to, if you want to get more information about it, contact Stuart or contact me direct and I'll introduce you to Stuart. No problem at all. I think there's a lot of people I know, especially out there in the corporate world in technology, that could actually use some of Stuart's help, because I've seen some really ropey marketing and branding imagery and video in the past. So some companies that could potentially work with you going forward. But it'd be great to have a chat afterwards just to see how things have gone. So if you can hang on afterwards, and we'll shut things down for now. But if you've got any final words to say, over to you.
No, absolutely, mate. Well, thank you for having me on. I love these sort of interview setups. They're really good fun, and it's a great way to introduce yourself to a new audience. So yeah, I really appreciate it, mate, and looking forward to watching your journey as your journey in business carries on the same as mine, mate.
All right, thanks a lot. I'll speak to everybody
Cheers,
later,
mate.
and I'll see you in a second.